Hello, my friends. We are continuing our message today with another spiritual vitamin. I've been on the prayer call and I have learned something new from God that I just need to share with you. Another spiritual vitamin. We are excited about what God is doing and teaching us in the book of Daniel, chapter 3. Today we're going in verses 14 through 20. We're in Proverbs again, chapter 14, verses 14 through 20, and we're in chapter 12 of Hearts on Fire by Fred Hartley III. And the title for this chapter is Be Weak. And in our weakness, God makes us strong. It's so important if these messages are blessing you or could be a blessing to somebody else. Share this message with someone. Copy the link and send it to your friends, your relatives, your associates, your neighbors, because this is your way to spread the gospel of Jesus Christ. When you hear something from God that blesses you, don't keep it to yourself. Make sure you share it with someone else. Well, we are continuing today on this title of Be Weak, because we know, again, in our weakness, it is God who makes us strong. Fred Hartley III says in this subtitle of chapter 12 that we have to be honest to God. You know, that was a subject that we used to always say when I was growing up, honest to God, honest to God. When you were really trying to emphasize that what I was saying was really true. But we have to break that title down. We have to be honest to God. Honest to God in every situation that we're in. And Hartley says, the author of this text, he says that oftentimes we are trying so hard to show our own strength that we are not being honest with God. That we have this twisted mindset somehow that we have to impress God, especially in our prayer life, and impress God with our own strength. That we need to impress God to show him that we are strong in our prayer life. No, Hartley says that we need to be honest with God and express that we do have weaknesses in our lives, especially in our prayer life. We need to be real with God, especially when we pray. Because when we're real with God, that's when God can help us. There are people all throughout the Bible who have expressed that they needed help from God, especially in the New Testament. We see Luke asking Jesus, teach us how to pray. We see Paul saying to us as believers that sometimes we don't even know what to pray. We even see the 12 disciples, those who were chosen. Jesus is what I would call his top three, Peter, James, and John, who he brought with him into the Garden of Gethsemane. And he said, would you just pray with me for 1 hour? And they couldn't even stay awake. They were acknowledging that they had a weakness in their prayer life. They were acknowledging to Christ and to God that they had this weakness that they needed to have fulfilled. They needed to have built up. And Hartley says when you do this, you are exposing, when you're telling God, when you are telling Jesus, I don't have the strength to do this, and you embrace that weakness, you are actually embracing your vulnerability. You're actually showing God your humility. And Hartley says the presence of God is attracted to your vulnerability, to your humility, and will draw close to you and provide you the help and the strength that you need. We see this actually play out in Daniel chapter 3, verses 14 through 20. It's a great, exciting story because we see two different spectrums of this same thing happening. We see someone, or three people actually, who have embraced their weakness and experienced the power of God in their lives while they're in a weak situation. We also see on the very opposite spectrum of that, we see someone who is just trying to hold on to power and will not express their weakness in King Nebuchadnezzar. And as a result of that, Nebuchadnezzar begins to fight against God. Two different spectrums, But let's watch how it plays out. Nebuchadnezzar in the story has already been told in Daniel chapter 2 the meaning and the interpretation of his dream. And now in chapter 3, he has built this golden statue, again, 90 feet tall, 9 feet wide. And he has asked, or he has commanded everyone to bow down and worship the statue, which is basically a replica of himself. He is trying to show himself strong. But guess what happens? At this particular point, there were 3 persons who did not bow. There were some Jews who bowed down. There were the astrologers, sorcerers, all the officers bowed down, but 3 persons, Meshach, Shadrach, and Abednego, did not bow down. And so the king says to them, is it true that you did not bow down? Is it true that you will not worship the golden statue that is built in honor of me? He said, I'll give you one more chance. Again, he is trying to exert his strength and show God and show all the people around him that he truly is strong. But guess what happens? Meshach, Shadrach, and Abednego don't bow down to the golden altar. They don't bow down to the golden statue. They don't worship the king. And the king says to them, if you don't bow down, then this is the result. I'm going to throw you in to the fiery furnace. I'm going to show you just how strong I am if you don't bow down to the golden statue and worship me. And my brothers and sisters, I need to let you know right here and pause to let you know that sometimes life or God will allow a situation to come into your space where you will be faced with a power that is greater than yours. And you can't fight it with your physical strength. And Meshach, Shadrach, and Abednego are in that situation. And in that case, they say, we can't fight this in our own strength. We have to rely on the strength of God. And here's what Nebuchadnezzar did, because again, he's trying to operate in his strength. He says, if you don't bow down, I'm going to throw you into the fire. And he uses this line. Let me read it to you just like it says in the text. It says, and then what God will be able to rescue you from my power. That's what Nebuchadnezzar said. He said, if you don't bow down, I'm going to throw you into the fire. And what God, what false gods that he's been worshiping will rescue you from my power. See, Nebuchadnezzar has now exposed to Meshach, Shadrach, and Abednego that this fight isn't really about them. It's about the God that they serve. And this, on their spectrum, begins to show them who this fight is really about. And so they, at this particular moment, now have been reassured that as they embrace their weakness, that God is going to be made strong in them. And they can almost, in my spiritual imagination, I almost see them being filled with the power of God. And they say, oh, King, almost as if they now know that God has now stood up in them. Oh, King, we don't have to defend ourselves against you. King, you are just mere flesh and bones. I'm sure they're thinking in their mind, we don't have to defend ourselves against you, for the God that we serve. You see, that's where God comes into their conversation. The God that we serve, we know will rescue us from this situation. And King, even if he doesn't rescue us, we have history with this God. I'm sure they're thinking to themselves, he was the God in Daniel chapter 2 who had just rescued them from certain death. They said, even if he doesn't rescue us, we still won't bow down to your golden statue, and we still won't worship false gods. And my brothers and sisters, life sometimes God will allow you to be in a situation where you will have to determine, what are you going to do? Are you going to be like Nebuchadnezzar, who is trying so hard to operate in your own strength that you are not willing to embrace your weakness and you end up fighting against God? Or will you take the opportunity of a lifetime and embrace your weakness, something that doesn't sometimes feel right in the very beginning, but when you know you can't defeat the situation that is in front of you? Meshach, Shadrach, and Abednego knew they could not overpower Nebuchadnezzar and his entire army. They knew they were in a situation where they needed their God. They were being honest to God. They, in their honesty to God, they were able to say, God, I can't fight this fight. God, I'm going to put my trust in you. And my brothers and sisters, that's what we have to do in 2025 and in the years to come. When we are placed in a situation where we know we don't have the physical strength to be able to solve the situation, we have to embrace our weakness. And in embracing our weakness, we have to tell God, God, I can't handle this. I can't deal with this. It's just too much for me. God, I need your help. And when you say that, you are embracing your vulnerability. You are embracing your humility, and God is attracted to that. And he will begin to show up in your situation, just like he showed up for Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. And in the end, we know that they made it through the fire. Why? Because God was on their side. My brothers and sisters, I have a question for you. In this day and age, are you more like Nebuchadnezzar, who is trying to hold on to your strength, knowing in your heart of hearts that you really can't handle that which you're going through? Have you made your provision, the things and the blessings that you have you made them your source? The provisions are the blessings that God has given you, but sometimes you make them your source. Sometimes you make them your God. Or have you honestly made your source? Because the Jews who bowed down and worshiped, they had the source. They had God on their side. But they made their source their provision. And they had minimized their relationship with God, not embracing their weakness. And they decided in their fear to bow down and worship. Be like Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. They had experienced the provision of God. They had watched God save them from certain death when Nebuchadnezzar ordered them to be killed in Daniel chapter 2. And now they are embracing their weakness and knowing that their true power source is now on the way to help them. Can you trust in God in this new situation you're in? There's a song called I Trust in God. Today, my brothers and sisters, you may be going through something. You got to trust in God. You got to understand that he is your Savior. He's the one who has never, ever failed you. You got to know that he is your God and he will never fail you. But you got to be honest to God. God, I can't handle this. I can't deal with this. And know that in that weakness, God will show up for you. Proverbs 14 says the simple person believes everything that they're told. But you have to be that prudent person who carefully considers every step, who embraces your weakness, says to God, I can't handle this, God, but I'm going to lean and depend on you. If you know somebody who's dealing with this, share this message with them. Tell them, be honest with God. Even if it means that you got to be weak, because in your weakness God is going to make you strong. You got to trust in God. You have to trust in God today. Make sure whatever life situation brings you, you trust in God. God bless you.